Hey guys, this is day 6 of your Law of Attraction journey, and I am really excited about today's message. I think this is really going to help you to help yourself stay in alignment, to stay in a really high vibration, and to be more reflective about what's going on around you. So today is all about relationships. The relationships in your life, your family, your friends, your coworkers, people that you're coming in contact with on a daily basis, the people who are in your field every single day. So many times, and this is definitely part of this victim mentality, we have this understanding or this definition that people make us feel a certain way, depending on what they do, depending on what they say, and depending on how they treat us. That creates how we feel, right? I mean, he's making me mad. You're making me angry. You're making me sad, right? So the reality of that is all of the ways that you feel actually come from within, and these people are actually just shining a spotlight on something that's already there. They're triggering something within you that needs to be healed. It needs to be released, and it needs to be reflected on and noticed in order for you to move past it. So if you have children, they are excellent at this. I think this is why they were brought to us, to help us to heal and to trigger these things within us. So taking that knowledge, knowing that you're in charge, that everything that comes to you, you have the ability to shift. You have the ability to redefine it in exactly how you want to feel. So, this is again about being in control of where you're going next with your thought process. Sometimes we get swept up in the energy. I definitely still do that with my kids. And that's okay. This is a journey, right? We're on a journey together. But if you really want to become an uplifter, if you really want to become that person who feels good all the time and has the ability to help other people come back into alignment and remember who they are, then this video is completely for you. How do you do it? Well, first of all, of course, I'm going to say you meditate, because meditating is going to help you to stay in this aligned state. It's going to help you to become more reflective about the thoughts and feelings that are coming in. So I would highly recommend a 20-minute practice per day of meditation. When you first start out, it doesn't have to be 20 minutes. Try it, though. And if that feels way too long, then start with 10 and you can work yourself up to bigger increments. Meditation is definitely key in getting, I became a completely different mother when I started meditating, because I became more aware of my center, of where I feel good, and knowing that, the things that the people around us are going through and the things that they're dealing with does not always have to do with us. For the most part, it doesn't even have to do with us. When we make it about us is when we allow it to trigger us and we allow it to make us feel a certain way. So I've been very reflective on this recently, having teenagers and, processing and going through all this stuff with them and their hormones and all the things that they're dealing with and their social stresses and all the things that they're going through. I'm decided that I'm going to put out some parenting videos, because I'm on this journey with you, and I'm on this journey with a lot of different parents, and people are parenting in a certain way, and I just feel really strongly that we need to awaken to a different way of parenting our kids, because it is a different world. It is a completely different world than we grew up in. And I feel like there's new ways that we can do this. We don't get manuals when we have these babies, and I'm on my 4th baby, and I feel like I've got some really good wisdom to share. So my book is coming out soon, and I thought if I could do a video series with that, I will do that as well. So maybe during this one, maybe not, maybe after, we'll see. But back to relationships. So I would love if you could just connect with the reflections. So as someone does something to you, I have a great example of this, and I don't want to throw my husband under the bus, because he is just the most amazing, loving, wonderful person in the world, but he has his things going on too, right? So we moved to California a year and a half ago, and he moved from Connecticut and left a thriving business. People thought he was absolutely insane for doing this, and yes, maybe he was a little insane. And thankfully, he doesn't resent me for that, because I was definitely the huge driving force for us to go and manifest our dreams here. And he doesn't resent me. I know that, because everything worked out. If everything didn't work out, maybe he wouldn't. I feel like this is too high. I'm just trying to move it closer. Okay. So he spent the last year really building himself up. He had to go back to work for someone, get paid way less than he is worth, and then to have that job end abruptly. Actually, he started out in LA. He was working in LA for 4 days and drove like in 5 hours of traffic every day and said, no way I'm not doing this. I didn't move to California to do this. And then through really cool manifestation story, he manifested another job right in our town, working for a wonderful man who really supported us, but just couldn't pay us what we needed to be paid in order to create what we want to create here. So that ended abruptly, which caused another manifestation for him to put out on our Facebook page. We have a residence page for our town, that he was on his own, and he has been busy ever since. We have not been without work since. And that was like 7 months ago. And now we are living way more abundantly. We've stepped into what we believed we were worthy of. And then he got his contractor's license, which was amazing. So everything worked out so beautifully, and now he's building again, and he's got some great opportunities and great jobs, and he's doing wonderful. But he is really, really busy, and he has chosen to be somewhat stressed at times. And I was driving to the grocery store one day, and I had reached out to him, and I said, hey, what are you doing? And it was like towards the end of the day, and he said, oh, I'm at Home Depot. And I said, oh, I'm right there. I'm going to stop in and see you, because I didn't talk to him all day. And I was feeling good. I was looking cute, and I was, just like, oh, I can't wait to see my husband. I was just like excited. I still get those feelings. We've been together for 30 years. And I walked into Home Depot, and I was looking for him, and I found him, and I, walked up to him, and I hugged him, and I gave him a kiss, and I had like chapstick on or lip gloss, and he wipes his face. He's just like, oh, gross. And I just kind of stopped and said, all right, well, I'll just follow you around so we can talk. And he was like, you can't distract me. I have things I got to get, and then I have a meeting at 7. And I was like, okay, all right, see you later. And I walked away, and I got in my car, and I actually started to cry. And the reason why I started to cry was because at that moment, I was putting my worthiness, I was putting the way I feel inside on him. And it didn't make me feel good, because he didn't fill me up the way I needed to be filled up. And I used to rely on him a lot for this. Poor guy. Relied on him a lot to fill me up and to help me with my self-confidence and my self-esteem. Because when I came to him as a 12-year-old, 14-year-old, I had some low self-esteem and some confidence issues. And I would always look to him to build me up. And that's all fine and good. That was my process. That's what I needed to walk through. That was our journey together. But now that I'm stepping into this new place where I love myself and I value who I am, and I put my worthiness on my own internal being, on my own internal guidance and who I really am, I don't need to do that with him anymore. So I sat in my car for a minute, and I was going to text him, and I was going to tell him how hurt I felt. Great. I'm sure he needs to hear that when he's running around trying to do work. And I just paused. So perfect, so smart to just pause. Just perfect to pause. It's perfect. Because it gives you time to reflect and to not become reactive. So I paused, and I thought about it, and I thought, I don't need him to prove his love to me. I really don't. This man loves me beyond anything anything ever. I know this. Everything he does is for me. I know that. So I thought, I don't need him to prove this to me. I don't need him to fill me up. And I started to think about him. And this is key in your relationships. This is why I'm telling this story. I started to feel compassion for him. And I started to feel, look at his life. This is so important with your kids too. Look at his life and to feel compassion for what he's going through, and say, am I going to put my worth, am I going to put the way I feel on a man who is stressed out and busy and running around and trying to get things done and accomplished for our family? And I thought, hell no, I am not doing that, and I'm never going to do that again. I'm never going to put my worth on my hormonal teenager who, it's so easy for us to feel disrespected by our kids because they are just managing and trying to figure things out, and they want things a certain way, and they are figuring things out. And so if we constantly feel disrespected by them, then we're creating this quantum field. We're creating this attraction field where we're always going to be pulling in things that make us feel disrespected. And if I did that in that moment, then I would be creating this feeling of unworthiness, which I know I don't want. So I refrained from texting him, and I went into a grocery store. I took a deep breath, and I was feeling better, and I just started walking through a grocery store. And then I had this really cool experience with this mom of 4 and this guy that was in line, and we were laughing, and these kids were adorable, and it just brought me to this whole other place because I didn't allow myself to dip down into this lower vibration. I did for a second, and then I reflected, and I chose where I wanted to go next. So I ended up coming home and making dinner, and my husband came home later, a couple hours later, and we had a wonderful evening together. We had a beautiful dinner together, and we connected, and we laughed and watched TV, and we had a great time. And I thought, wow, that would have never happened if I had sent that text. If I had been so reactive, then it would have been this tense-filled evening. And it doesn't mean that you don't tell your spouse how you feel. It doesn't mean that you don't tell people how you feel. But you know what? Let's choose how we want to feel instead of coming from this place of you're making me feel this way, because the reality is we are in charge of how we feel. And by being reflective, we can create exactly how we want to feel. Most of us are coming from past experience, and most of us are coming from, what we experienced as kids, or what we experienced in our parents' marriage. And the reality is we choose now. It's up to us. Now that you know this information, you can't go back. I'm sorry. I can't go back. I mean, you can, but it's going to feel really weird because you know this stuff now. So it's not going to feel as pleasing to be a victim anymore. And you're on your way. I mean, this journey is incredible when you really take this information and start to apply it. So look at your relationships, your coworkers, your spouse, your kids, whoever you're in relationship with, and ask yourself how you want to feel in that relationship. You can even write it down. Writing is the strongest form of focus. And then I highly, highly recommend this. This can shift any relationship. I've had people do this with coworkers. I've had people do this with spouses and kids, and it completely works. You take a sheet of paper and you write down everything you love about that person. And if you're not the type of person who's going to pull out a piece of paper and write it down, think about it. Just think about it. Just thinking about it will activate that energy in your field. So what this does is this lines you up with everything you love about that person. So that's what you're going to attract from them. That's what they're going to show you. It could take a little time to shift depending on how you're feeling inside. And sometimes when you start this exercise, you can only come up with a couple of things, and that's okay. I had a girl do this once with her mom who she was having a really hard time with. And, she came up with things like, I like the way she dresses, and I love the way she cooks, and she smells good, or I like the way she smiles. Just these little tiny things can create that shift that's going to bring something else into your quantum field. Throughout your day, you wake up in the morning, you do your appreciation exercises, hopefully you do your meditation, and then you come in contact with people. Take some breaths. Deep breaths are everything when we're in relationships, everything when we want this work to really be at its optimal best, because we're able to gain control of our thought patterns and gain control of our reactions. So breathing is probably one of the things that I would recommend. It's something that I do all the time. So, my child barks out an order in the morning. Yes, that happens. And, she's rushed because normally she gets up a little late, or she's on her phone, or whatever she's doing. I don't know. I don't need to judge it. But she's rushing, and so she gets stressed, and I know how she is. We know how people are. We know how they act. We know what to, and I don't want to say expect, because, we don't want to set up an expectation, but it's like if we know the way they respond to things, we can head that thing off differently. We don't have to stay in this ping pong match. We can be the ones, to put down the ball. We can be the ones to walk away from the table and say, I'm gonna feel good no matter what is going on with you. If you're stressed about your friends, or you're stressed about a test or homework, these kids have so much stress. And you can do this with your spouse, or your significant other, or your mom, or your dad, whoever you're dealing with. Finding that compassion and saying, okay, they're a little stressed right now. They're barking orders. I don't have to allow that to drop my vibration. So I take a nice deep breath and I respond accordingly. I will mention to my kids if they are really, talking to me like I'm a piece of dirt, I will say, I don't appreciate the way you're talking to me. I love you. That I love you changes everything in any conversation. When you say I love you, it kind of just lets everybody's air out. It's just like, oh, that's right. She loves me. That's right. She loves me. We're good because we love each other. So it's a great reminder. So I love to do that in conversations and just say, I love you and I want to feel good. I want us to feel good together. So how can I help you out? How can I help you from feeling so stressed right now? So those are some good tips when you're dealing with crazy teenagers. But in your relationships, in your everyday relationships, take a look at them. Ask yourself, how can I do this differently? How can I intend for this to look better? If you've been in a situation or a significant relationship for a long time that hasn't been perfect, and you've been looking at all the things you don't like about your significant other, it may take a little time to shift. It may take a little time, it may take a little focus for you to actually remember what you loved about this person in the first place. But it is absolutely possible. It is absolutely possible to start feeling better. And it's not about them. It's about you. It's about you feeling as good as you possibly can so that you can create throughout your day at the high vibrational state that you want to be at. So you can call in your abundance. You can feel worthy. You can feel joy. You can feel love. And because you're feeling all those things, you see more and more of it around you. I heard this explained once, really cool, and I loved it. And the idea was that we have these discs, these running discs all around us. And so down here we have like the ornery disc, and up here we have love and appreciation. That's a disc. And depending on which disc we hop onto is how we will be feeling. So if we're feeling really good, maybe we're feeling okay. Maybe we get up in the morning, we're just like, okay, it's okay. I did my appreciation. I'm feeling all right. And then our spouse gets up and he's really ornery. Do we want to drop down to his disc? Because we're kind of in the middle. We're not in that super high place. So we have a choice now to respond to him with this same energy, right? Reflect his energy. Do we want to be in that energetic field with him? Or do we want to up level in a place where we take a deep breath, remind ourselves that we're okay, remind ourselves that he or she is okay, and that if we just breathe and relax and stay in our good feeling place, we're going to help that person out so much more than if we hop on that disc with them. Because sometimes, we get in these states and we just want to pick fights with people, And I get it. It's just the way we're feeling. So our best bet when we're around that energy is asking yourself, which disc do I want to be on? Do I want to choose that one? In anything that happens to you, in any experience, traffic, waiting in a long line, dealing with an employee in a place where you're not getting what you want, how do you want to feel is really the biggest question here. So choose wisely because you are in charge. And think about these discs throughout your day. And, in everything that happens to you, you have a couple of seconds to choose. Do I want to? And I do this a lot with my kids lately. I know I'm constantly talking about my kids, but they're my life, a big part of my life. When I'm texting with my daughter and I feel like there's going to be a fight or not a fight, we don't fight, but we have stresses, we can stress together. And I'm becoming very reflective with her and going, is this what I want to choose for us? Is this what I want to choose for my next interaction with her? Or do I want to actually make progress in our relationship and come from a place of love and compassion? So it is all up to us. We can change the world with this. We can definitely change our world. We can change the world around us by creating more peace, creating more love, creating better interactions, and raising the vibrations of all those around us. So become an uplifter. It is a fantastic life to live. I absolutely enjoy doing it. And go at those relationships in a new way, define them differently, and you will experience something completely wonderful, and you'll raise your vibration and the vibration of all those around you. So that's our lesson for today. Peace out.